"Why don't you love my daughter, human?" the alien queen asked. I replied, "She's too beautiful." Inside, Elias Marlowe sat in the observation deck, staring at the approaching planet of Lyra 9. He had traveled for weeks to reach this place, invited personally by the alien queen, Zarithia. It was rare for humans to be welcomed here, and the weight of that honor sat heavily on his shoulders. Lyra 9 was unlike any planet Elias had ever seen. Even from orbit, the surface shimmered with colors that seemed alive. Bioluminescent forests stretched across mountains, rivers glowed faintly in blues and greens, and cities floated above the land like glowing clouds. The planet seemed to breathe, pulsing softly as though it had a heartbeat. Elias felt both awe and nervousness. He had been trained for diplomacy, but nothing in the academy had prepared him for a meeting with an alien queen. The docking was smooth. The ship's airlock opened with a soft hiss, and Elias stepped onto a landing platform that hovered above the glowing city below. A tall figure awaited him. Queen Zarithia was taller than any human, with skin that shimmered like molten silver under the Lyra 9 sun. Her eyes were large, golden, and filled with an intelligence that made Elias feel small in comparison. Her presence was regal yet calm, like a river that could be both gentle and deadly. "Welcome to Lyra 9, human," she said, her voice soft but commanding. It carried a musical quality, rising and falling like a song. "I am Queen Zarithia. You are far from home." "I am honored, Your Majesty," Elias replied, bowing slightly. "I have heard much about your world. It is magnificent." The queen's lips curved slightly. "You see beauty, but do you understand it?" Elias swallowed. I hope to understand it better." Zarithia nodded, her eyes studying him. "And you are here because you admire my daughter, Liara?" Elias froze. He had anticipated questions about diplomacy, trade, or human culture, but not this. "She knows," he thought. He felt a flush of nervousness. I do," he admitted. "Liara is remarkable." The queen's expression did not change, but her eyes narrowed slightly. "Remarkable or too beautiful?" Elias blinked. He had not expected such a direct question. His heart raced, and he searched for words. "Too beautiful," he finally said. "Her beauty is overwhelming, but it is not just that. There is kindness, intelligence, something rare that draws you in." For a long moment, Zarithia studied him silently. Then she spoke, her tone calm but sharp. "We shall see if your words hold truth. You will dine with us, human. There is much to observe." They walked together across the platform toward the floating palace. Elias tried to take in the architecture. Towers spiraled upward, adorned with flowing crystals that captured the sunlight and scattered it in rainbows. Bridges arched gracefully across open air, connecting towers like threads of silver. The palace glowed from within, warm light spilling out of large, translucent windows. Even the ground beneath their feet seemed to hum slightly, resonating with the energy of the planet itself. Inside, the palace was a mixture of elegance and life. Strange plants with glowing leaves swayed gently, responding to movements and sounds. A soft, melodic hum filled the air, like a lullaby sung by the planet itself. Liara was there, standing near a window overlooking the glowing forest below. She was taller than most humans, with hair that shimmered like gold under the alien light, and eyes that reflected the colors of her world. When she noticed Elias, she inclined her head slightly, a gentle smile forming on her lips. "Welcome, Elias," she said softly. Her voice was warm and inviting, yet carried a quiet strength. "You're welcome, human," Zarithia interjected before Elias could speak. "Eat, observe, and learn. Actions reveal more than words." The dining hall was circular, with a table made of a translucent material that glowed faintly. The food was unfamiliar, fruits that pulsed with light, liquids that shimmered like molten metal. But Elias ate politely, savoring the textures and subtle flavors. Liara watched him with curiosity, occasionally offering explanations about the food and customs. Conversation flowed, though Elias noticed the queen's careful attention to his every gesture, every word. It was clear she was not just testing manners but understanding his character. He answered carefully, speaking of Earth, human culture, and his experiences among the stars. Zarithia asked about his bravery, his failures, his dreams. Each question seemed designed to probe deeper than simple diplomacy. Then, as the meal concluded, Zarithia's gaze turned toward him, her golden eyes piercing. "Tell me honestly, human, why do you admire my daughter?" Elias felt a chill. He could not lie here. The queen would see through any attempt. He took a deep breath. She is extraordinary. Her beauty is beyond what I have ever known. But more than that, she carries herself with a wisdom and grace that inspire trust and respect. She is everything one could hope for in a companion, in a friend, in a partner. For a moment the room was silent. Liara's eyes softened, but Zarithia's remained sharp. Then unexpectedly she smiled, a small, knowing smile. "You are honest. That is rare among humans." Ilias exhaled in relief. "I speak only what I feel, Your Majesty. I have no desire to deceive." "Good," Zarithia said. "Words are easy. Actions reveal true character. You will remain here for the coming days. You will learn, explore, and demonstrate what kind of human you truly are." Ilias nodded, understanding the gravity of her statement. He would not be judged by charm or flattery, but by courage, wisdom, and empathy. This was not just a test of admiration. It was a test of humanity itself. Over the next hours, he was shown the palace gardens, where glowing plants whispered with the wind, and streams of liquid light flowed gently between them. Creatures unlike any on Earth wandered freely, some curious, some cautious. Ilias observed how the aliens interacted with them, learning their customs and rules. He marveled at the balance and harmony, recognizing the wisdom in Zarithia's rule. As night fell over Lyra 9, the city lights reflected across the clouds like a second sky. Ilias stood with Lyra on a balcony, both of them silent for a while, taking in the view. "Do you think you can prove yourself?" Lyra asked quietly. Ilias looked at her, then out at the glowing forests below. "I will try," he said honestly. "I must, not just for you, but to show that humans are more than you may expect." Lyra smiled faintly, a spark of admiration in her eyes. "Then perhaps, human, this world is ready to see the best of you." At that moment, Ilias felt a mix of fear and determination. He had come to Lyra 9 as a guest, but he would leave as someone who could bridge the gap between worlds. The journey ahead was uncertain, full of dangers and challenges, but he knew one thing. He would face them with courage, honor, and the undeniable human spirit. The night deepened, the stars above reflecting those below, and for the first time since leaving Earth, Ilias felt that he was exactly where he was meant to be, on the edge of discovery, on the threshold of proving what it truly meant to be human. The morning sun rose over Lyra 9, casting soft hues of gold and violet across the floating city. Ilias Marlowe stood on the palace balcony, staring at the forest below. Its trees glowed with faint blue and green lights, their branches twisting like elegant sculptures. The forest was alive in ways Ilias could not yet understand, and he knew that his first test was waiting somewhere within its depths. Queen Zarithia had instructed him clearly. "Retrieve the crystal of Luminara. It is vital for our ritual of balance. You may not fail, human." Liara, standing beside him, tilted her head. "It is not just a crystal. It is guarded by the creatures of the forest. You must move with care and respect. The forest senses your intentions." Ilias nodded. "I understand. I will do my best." With that, he stepped onto the transport platform that would carry him to the forest's edge. The ground shimmered as the platform rose, and soon he was descending among the glowing trees. The air was crisp and fresh, carrying a faint scent of sweet minerals and flowers. He could hear the hum of the forest, a low, melodic sound that seemed to vibrate in harmony with his heartbeat. Ilias knew this was more than a simple retrieval mission. It was a test of his courage, intelligence, and respect for life. The crystal of Luminara was said to amplify the energy of its surroundings, but it was also highly sensitive. Only someone pure of heart and clever of mind could retrieve it without disturbing the delicate balance of the forest. He stepped carefully onto the soft, glowing moss. Each step left a faint trail of light behind him. Strange creatures peeked from the undergrowth, small, floating beings with translucent wings, their eyes reflecting curiosity rather than fear. Ilias smiled at them and spoke softly. "I mean no harm. I only seek the crystal." The creatures seemed to understand, their wings flickering in acknowledgement. Ilias pressed on, deeper into the forest. He soon reached a clearing where the trees arched high, forming a natural cathedral. In the center, the crystal of Luminara shimmered atop a pedestal carved from living wood. Its light was intense, almost blinding, but it pulsed gently as if it were breathing. Just as he stepped closer, the ground trembled slightly, and a creature appeared. It was massive, with scales that reflected the forest light like liquid silver. Its eyes glowed with intelligence, and it moved with a grace that betrayed strength. This was the guardian of the crystal. Ilias froze. He had trained for encounters with dangerous creatures, but this was different. The Guardian did not roar or attack immediately, it studied him. Elias remembered Liara's words, move with care and respect. He bowed slightly, lowering his eyes. I seek only to retrieve the crystal to help your world. I will not harm you or the forest. The Guardian tilted its head, then slowly stepped aside, allowing him to approach the pedestal. Elias carefully lifted the crystal. Its surface was cool and smooth, and he could feel a faint pulse of energy running through it. As he held it, he sensed the life of the forest around him. The trees, the creatures, even the wind seemed aware of his presence. But the test was not over. As he turned to leave, the forest shifted. Trees bent and twisted, paths he had walked before now seemed blocked. Shadows lengthened and strange sounds echoed through the glowing foliage. Elias realized that the forest itself was testing him, challenging his patience and intelligence. He paused, taking a deep breath. He remembered his training: observe, think, and adapt. He noticed patterns in the movement of the plants and creatures. By following the faint trails of light left by the friendly forest beings, he navigated the maze of twisting trees. He avoided aggressive plants that reached out like hands, and he carefully stepped around glowing vines that pulsed dangerously. Hours passed as he made his way through the forest, relying on both his wits and intuition. At one point, he encountered a small creature trapped beneath a fallen branch. Its cries were soft but filled with distress. Elias did not hesitate. He lifted the branch and helped the creature free. It looked at him with gratitude, then darted back into the forest. Every life matters, Elias whispered to himself, even the smallest. Finally, as the twin moons of Lyra 9 began to rise, casting silver light across the trees, he reached the edge of the forest. The city lights glimmered in the distance. He had survived the challenges of the forest, retrieved the crystal, and demonstrated courage, respect, and empathy. Returning to the palace, Elias felt a mix of exhaustion and pride. The crystal pulsed gently in his hands, its light a reminder of the balance he had maintained. As he entered the grand hall, Queen Zarithia's eyes studied him carefully. Liara waited beside her, her golden hair glowing in the soft interior light. "You have returned," Zarithia said calmly, "and you carry the crystal, but the test is not yet complete. Tell me, human, what have you learned from the forest?" Elias held the crystal before him, its glow reflecting in his eyes. "I have learned that strength is not only in courage or skill, but in respect for all life. The forest tested me, yes, but it also taught me to observe, to understand, and to act with care. The creatures, the plants, the paths, they all matter. Nothing can be taken without thought." The queen's expression softened slightly. "Many humans come here seeking glory or fame. Few understand the balance of our world. You have shown wisdom beyond your years." Liara stepped forward. "And you have shown bravery, Elias. You faced dangers without arrogance, and you helped where help was needed. That is rare." Elias felt a warmth spread through him. He had hoped to impress them, but he had not expected such genuine acknowledgement. "I only did what I thought was right," he said. "That is all any human or any being can do." Zarithia's eyes glimmered with approval. "Good, you have passed the first part of the test. But remember this, every action has consequences. The crystal must now be returned to its pedestal in a ceremony that honors the forest and its guardians. This will require trust, humility, and precision." Elias nodded. "I will do as you ask." That evening, he joined Liara in preparing for the ritual. She explained the ceremony in detail. The crystal must be placed carefully, chants must be recited in the language of the forest, and the guardians must witness the return. Elias listened intently, realizing that this was not just a test of bravery, but a test of understanding, patience, and cooperation. When they arrived at the forest clearing, the guardians awaited. The massive silver-scaled creature from before approached Elias, observing him closely. The smaller creatures hovered, their wings flickering like fireflies. Elias felt the pulse of life around him and remembered everything he had learned: respect, caution, empathy. Carefully, he placed the crystal on its pedestal. The forest seemed to respond instantly. Light rippled through the trees, creatures sang in soft harmonies, and the ground pulsed gently beneath him. Elias stepped back, allowing Liara to begin the chants. He followed her lead, mimicking the rhythm and tone as best he could. The guardians watched silently, their eyes reflecting approval. When the ceremony concluded, the crystal glowed brighter than before, a symbol of balance and harmony. Elias felt a deep sense of accomplishment. He had faced danger, uncertainty, and tests of character, and had emerged with both success and understanding. Returning to the palace, Queen Zarithia regarded him with a rare smile. "You have done well, human. The forest has accepted you, as have we. But remember, this is only the beginning. True understanding comes not from a single test, but from a lifetime of actions." Liara's eyes sparkled with admiration. "You are different from the humans I have heard about. Brave, clever, and kind. I am glad you are here." Ilias felt a warmth he had never known, a sense of connection not only with Liara, but with this world and its people. He had come as a guest, but he had begun to earn a place among them, not through words alone, but through deeds, heart, and the unmistakable human spirit. That night, as the moons rose high above Lyra 9, Ilias stood on the balcony, holding the glowing crystal safely in a ceremonial box. The forest below shimmered in appreciation, the creatures watching silently. He understood now what Queen Zarithia meant. Every action mattered, and every life was connected. Humanity's strength was not just in courage or skill, but in empathy, creativity, and respect. And with that understanding, Ilias felt ready for whatever the Queen would ask next. The morning light on Lyra 9 was soft, washing the floating city in hues of gold and lavender. Ilias Marlowe awoke with a sense of purpose. The first part of his test had been completed, the crystal of Luminara had been returned safely, and he had proven courage and respect. But Queen Zarithia had made it clear, this was only the beginning. There was still much for him to learn and more ways for his character to be tested. As he stepped onto the balcony of the palace, Liara appeared beside him, her hair glinting in the morning sun. "Good morning, Ilias," she said warmly. "I hope you rested well. Today we will begin the next part of your journey. The forest has many lessons still to teach, and I will accompany you." Ilias smiled. "I am ready. I want to learn as much as I can." Together they walked to the palace gardens, which were alive with glowing plants and gently flowing streams. The gardens were more than decoration. They were a living classroom. Liara guided Ilias through paths lined with bioluminescent vines, pointing out the interactions of plants and creatures, and explaining the subtle energy flows that maintained balance. "You see," Liara said, "everything here is connected. The creatures, the plants, even the wind and water. If one part is harmed, it affects the rest. This is why our people value harmony above all else." Ilias nodded, listening carefully. He had learned about the forest before, but Liara's explanations made the lessons clearer. On Earth, we often think progress means control. Here, progress means understanding and respect. Liara smiled. "Exactly, and today you will see that understanding is tested not just by courage, but by empathy." Their path led them to the edge of the bioluminescent forest. A group of small creatures, similar to those Ilias had seen before, fluttered anxiously around a large, glowing plant. One of its limbs had been damaged, and the plant seemed to be in distress. Ilias approached slowly, careful not to frighten the plant or the creatures. "What happened?" he asked Liara. "It was injured during the storm last night," she explained. "The forest's energy is weakened in this area. If the plant dies, it could affect the creatures that depend on it." Ilias knelt beside the plant, examining its glowing limbs. He had no experience with alien flora beyond observation, but he remembered what Liara had taught him: empathy, patience, and careful observation. He gently applied a mixture of soil and water from the streams, hoping to stabilize the plant. Liara watched silently, offering guidance only when necessary. Hours passed as Ilias worked. Slowly, the plant's glow grew steadier, its limbs straightening. The creatures around it chirped softly, and Ilias felt a surge of satisfaction. He realized that courage alone would not have saved the plant. It had required patience, understanding, and respect, qualities that humans often overlooked, but which had been cultivated in him through training and instinct. "You did well," Liara said finally, her eyes reflecting pride. "Many would have ignored the smaller details, thinking only of the crystal or the challenge itself. You cared for life even when it seemed insignificant." Ilias smiled humbly. "Every life matters." "That is what I have learned here." The next part of the day took them deeper into the forest. Liara led Ilias to a hidden valley where a river of liquid light flowed. Strange creatures moved gracefully along its banks, their bodies shimmering like reflections of the river itself. Here, Ilias would face a different challenge, one that tested intelligence, quick thinking, and cooperation. A sudden sound interrupted their path. A creature had become trapped under a fallen tree. Unlike the small creatures from before, this one was larger, with scales that shimmered in shades of silver and violet. It struggled, its eyes wide with fear. "Can you help it?" Liara asked quietly. Elias examined the scene. The tree was heavy, and it would require strength and strategy to lift it without harming the creature. He remembered the training he had received on Earth, how to assess problems, plan carefully, and act with precision. He tied together some strong vines, creating a makeshift pulley system. Slowly, carefully, he lifted the fallen tree, keeping his movements smooth to avoid hurting the creature. The creature scrambled free, looking at Elias with what seemed like gratitude before disappearing into the forest. Liara nodded approvingly. "You have a mind not only for action but for problem-solving. That is rare." As they continued, Elias began to notice something extraordinary. The creatures of the forest seemed to recognize him. Birds with translucent wings flew alongside him, chirping melodiously. Small, glowing insects hovered near his head, their lights flickering in harmony with the forest's pulse. It was as though the forest itself was observing him, gauging his character. "Do you feel it?" Liara asked. "The forest responds to those who respect it. Those who act selfishly or recklessly would be met with obstacles, not guidance." Elias nodded, feeling a deep connection he had never experienced on Earth. The energy of the forest resonated with him, guiding him, teaching him, and challenging him in ways beyond simple understanding. Their journey led them to a cave, hidden behind a waterfall of glowing water. Inside, the walls shimmered with natural crystals, casting reflections in every direction. Liara explained that this cave was home to the ancients, an intelligent species of energy beings who had lived in harmony with Lyra 9 for centuries. "You must speak with them," Liara said. "They will ask questions. Their purpose is not to harm, but to understand if you are worthy of learning the forest's deepest secrets." Elias stepped cautiously into the cave. The air felt charged, almost alive. Figures formed from light appeared, their shapes fluid and radiant. The ancients spoke without words, communicating directly into his mind. "Why do you seek understanding, human?" one asked. Elias considered carefully. "I seek to learn, to respect, and to act with care. I want to understand your world, not control it. I want to prove that humans can honor life, not just survive in it." The ancients seemed to study him, their glowing forms shifting like waves. "You show humility, courage, and intelligence. These are the qualities necessary to live in harmony with our world." Another ancient approached, its form swirling with violet light. "But can you act with kindness when no one is watching? Can you make choices that benefit others, even if it brings no reward to you?" Elias thought of the injured plant, the trapped creature, and the careful steps he had taken through the forest. He nodded. "I have tried to do what is right, even when it was difficult. That is the measure of who I am." The ancients pulsed with light, a sign of approval. "You have shown the human spirit, the rare combination of courage, empathy, and wisdom. You are worthy of our trust." When Elias emerged from the cave, Liara was waiting with a smile. "They have accepted you," she said softly. "That is no small achievement. Few outsiders ever gain their trust." Elias felt a swell of pride, but also humility. "I could not have done it without your guidance, and without the lessons of the forest itself." Liara tilted her head, her eyes softening. "You see, Elias, strength is not measured by battles fought or obstacles overcome alone. It is measured by how you treat the world and the beings within it. You are learning quickly." The day ended with Elias and Liara sitting by a glowing stream, watching the forest pulse with energy. The small creatures returned, flitting around them, and the larger guardians rested nearby. Elias felt a sense of belonging, an understanding that humanity's true power was not in technology or weapons, but in courage, empathy, and ingenuity. He thought of Earth, of the humans he had left behind, and realized that every human could carry these qualities into the universe. Perhaps that was why he had been chosen, to show that humans could be more than their history suggested. To show that they could earn respect and trust even among the most advanced civilizations. Liara spoke softly, breaking his thoughts. "Tomorrow you will face new challenges. They will be harder and they will test your creativity and resolve. But you have shown that the human spirit can rise to meet them." Elias nodded, feeling both anticipation and confidence. He had survived the forest, helped its creatures, and learned lessons that would guide him in the days to come. He had faced fear, uncertainty, and responsibility, and had not faltered. As the moons rose over Lyra 9, casting silver light across the forest and city, Elias understood something profound. Humanity's strength was not in domination, but in understanding, respect, and action guided by empathy. And with that understanding, he felt ready for whatever lay ahead, ready to face the next challenge, and to continue proving that humans were capable of greatness. He glanced at Liara, her golden hair glowing softly in the moonlight, and felt a surge of determination. This world had tested him, and he had risen to meet it. But more importantly, he had learned that humanity's true power lay not in weapons or ambition, but in the heart, the mind, and the courage to act with honor. And that courage, he knew, would be tested again. And this time, the challenges would reach even deeper into the spirit of what it meant to be human. The morning on Lyra 9 began quietly, with the twin suns casting gentle golden light across the palace towers. Elias Marlowe had already begun to understand the rhythm of this world, the connection between its creatures, plants, and people, and the lessons they carried. Yet today, he knew, would be different. Queen Zarithia had summoned him for a test unlike any before, one that would challenge his mind, heart, and understanding of humanity itself. When he entered the grand hall, the queen was waiting, seated upon a luminous throne that seemed to float above the floor. Liara stood beside her, her expression calm but attentive. Elias felt a mix of respect and nervousness. He had faced physical challenges in the forest and moments of careful problem-solving with its creatures. But now it seemed he would face challenges of judgment, insight, and understanding. "Human," Zarithia began, her golden eyes studying him carefully, "you have proven courage, empathy, and ingenuity. You have navigated the forest, respected its life, and gained the trust of its guardians. Yet these are but the first steps. The heart of understanding is not action alone, but the ability to see beyond one's own world." Elias nodded. "I will do my best, Your Majesty." "Very well," she said, rising gracefully. "You will participate in a series of trials that will test your mind, your values, and your loyalty. These are not physical challenges. They are challenges of thought, decision, and reflection. You will be judged not for success alone, but for the choices you make and the reasons behind them." The first trial led Elias and Liara to a chamber filled with holographic images. Floating before him were scenes from Lyra 9's history, moments of joy, struggle, diplomacy, and conflict. The queen's voice echoed in the chamber. "Observe carefully, human. These events shaped our world. Many species have tried to influence Lyra 9, seeking advantage or control. Your understanding of these choices will reveal whether you can truly grasp the values of our civilization." Elias stepped forward, studying each image. He saw citizens debating decisions that affected the planet's balance, leaders making sacrifices for the greater good, and moments where courage and compassion saved countless lives. Each scene was accompanied by questions, requiring him to weigh not only the outcomes, but the intentions behind the actions. One image showed a council deciding whether to allow a new species to settle on Lyra 9. The decision could bring knowledge and trade, but it risked upsetting the delicate ecosystem. Elias paused, considering the question carefully. He recognized the complexity, understanding that any choice carried consequences beyond immediate perception. He chose the path that balanced curiosity with respect for life, explaining his reasoning in simple, thoughtful terms. Liara watched him closely. "Your perspective is human, yet you are seeing clearly. That is rare among outsiders." The next trial moved them to the palace gardens, but this time, the challenge was not observation, it was creation. The queen handed Elias a set of seeds unlike any he had seen before, their colors shifting as he held them. "You must plant these in a way that harmonizes with the garden," she instructed. "Your goal is not to impress, but to integrate, to respect the existing life while adding something new." Elias knelt and studied the soil, the existing plants, and the flow of water through the garden. He recalled his experiences in the forest, the lessons about balance, empathy, and foresight. Slowly, carefully, he planted each seed, adjusting the angles, spacing, and depth to allow the seeds to thrive without disturbing the other life. As he worked, he spoke softly to the plants, encouraging them and acknowledging their growth. When he finished, Liara stepped forward. The garden seemed to respond to his care. The new seeds shimmered gently, harmonizing with the existing flora. The air felt vibrant, alive, and balanced. Elias realized that the trial had not been about skill alone, but about patience, attention, and respect for living things, a lesson humans often overlooked in their haste. Finally, the queen led him to the chamber of reflection, a quiet space filled with floating orbs of light that mirrored the emotions of those inside. Zarithia's voice was calm, yet firm. Human, the final trial is this. Speak honestly about your intentions, your values, and the essence of your spirit. Do not speak to impress, but to reveal truth. The answers you give will determine whether you can join us as an ally, whether humanity is worthy of trust in the eyes of Lyra 9. Elias took a deep breath. He remembered his journey, the forest, the creatures he had helped, the lessons from Liara and the ancients. He thought of Earth, of the humans he had left behind, and the possibilities of what humans could become if guided by wisdom, empathy, and courage. I came here as a guest, he said softly, to learn, to understand, and to prove that humanity can rise beyond fear and selfishness. I have made mistakes, as all humans do, but I have tried to act with respect, courage, and care. I believe that humans have a unique strength, not only in what we can create or achieve, but in our ability to hope, to understand, and to act with conscience. The chamber pulsed with light, reflecting his sincerity. Liara's eyes glimmered with admiration. Zarithia stepped forward, her expression unreadable, yet Elias sensed approval. You speak honestly, the queen said, and yet honesty alone is not enough. Humans are clever, resourceful, and capable of greatness. But greatness is measured not in triumph alone, but in the choices made along the path. You have shown courage, empathy, wisdom, and the ability to act rightly under pressure. This is rare. Elias felt a surge of relief mixed with humility. Thank you, Your Majesty, I only speak what I feel. The queen nodded slowly. Your actions, human, speak louder than words. The forest, the creatures, the ancients, they have accepted you, and now so have we. Liara stepped forward, her golden hair glowing softly in the chamber light. I have watched you, Elias, not just your actions, but your intentions. You are clever, brave, and kind. You honor life, and that is something few humans ever do. I am glad you are here. Elias felt a warmth he had not known before. It was not pride alone, but the recognition that his efforts, his choices, and his spirit had mattered, not only to the queen and Liara, but to the world itself. Zarithia's eyes softened, and she gestured toward the city below. Human, you have proven that your species has potential. Not all humans seek only power or conquest. Some can understand, respect, and create harmony. You are among these, and this is why you are here, not merely to admire Liara, but to demonstrate what humans can truly be. Elias looked down at the city, its glowing towers, flowing streams, and living gardens. He realized that this planet had tested him in ways that went far beyond any physical challenge. He had been judged on empathy, wisdom, respect, and the choices he made under pressure. He had proven that humans could rise to meet the values of another world, not through strength alone, but through thought, courage, and heart. Liara spoke again, softly, almost as if to herself. Perhaps humanity is capable of more than we have ever imagined. Elias felt a deep sense of responsibility. He was not just representing himself. He was representing all of humanity. If humans could act with honor, empathy, and intelligence, perhaps other worlds would see them not as invaders or conquerors, but as allies and friends. The queen's voice broke his thoughts. Tomorrow, new challenges will arise. They will test your creativity, resolve, and leadership. But remember this, every choice, every act defines who you are. And so far, human, you have shown that the human spirit can rise to meet even the highest expectations. Elias bowed respectfully. I will not fail, Your Majesty. I will continue to act with integrity and care. Zarithia nodded, a rare smile forming on her lips. Good. Remember, human, that greatness is not given. It is earned, and you are earning it well. Liara stepped closer, placing a hand lightly on Elias' arm. You have shown the courage to act rightly, even when it was difficult. You have shown the patience to observe and the empathy to understand. I look forward to what comes next. As they left the chamber, Elias felt a renewed sense of determination. He had faced the queen's trials, demonstrated understanding, and proven that humanity's strengths were not limited to tools, technology, or conquest. Humans could inspire, protect, and act with conscience, and in doing so, they could earn respect across the stars. That night, Elias stood on the balcony, looking out at the glowing forests and floating city. Liara joined him silently, her presence comforting and encouraging. The moons reflected on the streams below, creating ribbons of silver light that danced across the trees. Elias felt a connection not just to this world, but to the potential of humanity itself. He understood now what the Queen had meant. His actions mattered, his choices defined him, and his spirit could rise to meet challenges far beyond what he had imagined. And as he looked at Liara, Elias realized that admiration alone was not enough. Respect, understanding, and courage, these were the qualities that truly mattered. The night deepened, and Lyra 9 pulsed with life and energy. Elias felt ready for the next trials, confident that his humanity, its courage, empathy, and ingenuity, could shine even in the most challenging circumstances. And in that moment, he knew that the path ahead, though difficult, was one he could face with honor, determination, and the unmistakable human spirit. The morning sun rose gently over Lyra 9, painting the floating city in shades of gold and silver. Elias Marlowe stood on the palace balcony, feeling a quiet sense of determination. Over the past days, he had faced challenges that tested his courage, empathy, and understanding. He had navigated the forest, learned from its guardians, aided its creatures, and proven himself in trials designed to measure not strength alone, but the very essence of humanity. Today, however, promised to be the most significant day of all. Queen Zarithia had summoned him to witness a ceremonial gathering, a celebration of life, wisdom, and harmony. This gathering would test Elias in subtle ways, through diplomacy, observation, and reflection. It would reveal whether he could integrate humanity's strengths into the larger fabric of Lyra 9's culture. Liara appeared beside him, her golden hair glinting softly in the morning light. She smiled, a mixture of admiration and anticipation in her eyes. "Today is important, Elias," she said. "Not because you must prove anything, but because your presence here shows that humans can rise to meet our values. You have already earned respect, but actions today will demonstrate understanding in a broader sense." Elias nodded. "I am ready. I will do my best." They walked together through the palace corridors, their steps echoing softly on the polished floor. The grand hall had been transformed into a meeting space where representatives from different regions of Lyra 9 had gathered. They came from the floating cities, the forests, and the distant mountains, each carrying their unique energy and presence. Queen Zarithia stood at the front of the hall, her golden eyes observing Elias with calm intensity. "Today, human," she said, "you will witness the unity of Lyra 9. You will observe, you will listen, and you will act. Your role is to contribute wisely, to show that your people can respect, honor, and strengthen the connections between worlds." The first part of the gathering involved discussions about the planet's ecosystem and society. Aliens spoke of the challenges they faced, from environmental shifts to diplomatic negotiations with other civilizations. Elias listened carefully, asking thoughtful questions when appropriate. His questions were not intrusive, but insightful, showing that he was not merely a visitor, but a participant willing to understand and contribute. Liara guided him gently. "Notice how they speak of balance," she said. "Not dominance, not conquest, but harmony. This is their strength. If humans can learn this, it will be the greatest gift we can give each other." Elias nodded, absorbing the lesson. He realized that his experiences in the forest had prepared him well. Patience, observation, empathy. These were not just tools for survival, but keys to understanding a civilization far different from his own. After the discussions, the Queen led Elias and Liara to a ceremonial plaza. In its center, a large crystal formation pulsed with energy, casting light across the gathered crowd. This was the heart of Lyra 9, a symbol of life, wisdom, and unity. The Queen's voice carried across the plaza. "Human, today you will demonstrate the integration of your people's spirit into our world. You have shown courage, empathy, and intelligence. Now we wish to see how your humanity can honor, support, and enhance our values." Elias took a deep breath. He had faced physical challenges, problem-solving, and reflection. But this was different. Here, his actions would be observed not only by the Queen and Liara, but by all the inhabitants of Lyra 9. It was a test of diplomacy, understanding, and the human capacity for harmony. The first task involved aiding the local communities in a demonstration of collaboration. Each group faced a challenge. A delicate bridge of energy had been damaged, connecting two regions. The bridge was essential for transporting resources and maintaining balance. Elias observed the construction techniques, the flow of energy, and the roles of each participant. "Your task," Liara said quietly, "is to help without dominating." Offer ideas, support, and guidance, but respect their methods and traditions. Elias nodded. He approached the workers carefully, asking questions about their methods, suggesting small improvements when appropriate and assisting where needed. Slowly, the bridge began to stabilize, glowing brighter as the energy flowed smoothly. The community members looked at him with appreciation, recognizing his respect and willingness to cooperate. When the bridge was complete, the queen spoke again. "You have acted wisely, human. You did not impose your ways but respected the methods of others. You contributed without overshadowing. This is true leadership." Elias felt a surge of pride, tempered by humility. He realized that humanity's strength lay not in forcing solutions, but in collaborating, learning, and respecting others. Next, the ceremony turned to a test of creativity and insight. Lyra 9 had a tradition of creating living art, structures that grew, pulsed, and interacted with the environment. Elias was given materials, energy crystals, bioluminescent plants, and responsive elements of water and air. The task was to design a creation that would integrate seamlessly into the plaza, enhancing harmony rather than disrupting it. Elias paused, considering his approach. He recalled his experiences in the forest, observing patterns, respecting energy flows, and acting with care. He arranged the crystals, plants, and streams in a circular pattern that allowed light, water, and energy to flow naturally. The final structure pulsed gently, reacting to the presence of people nearby, glowing brighter as they approached and softening as they moved away. The crowd watched silently, then murmured in approval. Liara's eyes shone with admiration. "You understood the essence," she said softly. "Not just the materials, but the life and energy around them. You have brought humanity into harmony with our world." Finally, the queen led Elias to the ceremonial heart of Lyra 9, the crystal of Luminara. This time, he was asked to speak openly to the assembly. "Human," Zarithia said, "address the gathering. Speak of your understanding, your values, and what humanity can offer as a partner in this world." Elias stepped forward, feeling the weight of responsibility. He took a deep breath and spoke clearly, addressing not only the crowd before him but the principles that had guided his journey. "I have traveled far from Earth," he began, "and I have faced challenges that tested courage, empathy, and wisdom. I have learned that strength is not measured by power alone, but by respect for life, understanding of others, and the choices we make under pressure. Humans are capable of mistakes, but also of greatness. We can hope, we can create, and we can act with conscience. If allowed, humanity will honor your world, support its balance, and work together for a future built on respect, collaboration, and understanding." The plaza fell silent for a moment. Then, slowly, the crowd responded, nodding and expressing approval. The energy of Lyra 9 pulsed gently in acknowledgement, as if recognizing the sincerity and truth in Elias' words. Queen Zarithia stepped forward, her golden eyes reflecting pride. "Human, you have shown that your species can act with honor, respect, and intelligence. You have demonstrated courage, empathy, and creativity. Today you have earned more than admiration, you have earned trust." Liara approached, placing her hand lightly on Elias' arm. "You have shown the best of humanity, Elias, brave, wise, and kind. You have learned our ways, respected our world, and acted with honor. I am proud to stand beside you." Elias felt a warmth unlike anything he had experienced before. It was not just pride, but a deep sense of connection, to Lyra 9, to its people, and to the possibilities of humanity. He realized that this journey had not only tested him, but transformed him. He had become a bridge between worlds, proving that humans could be allies, protectors, and friends in the universe. The queen raised her hand, signaling the assembly to join in a final gesture of unity. Light from the plaza, the crystal of Luminara, and the living art Elias had helped create intertwined, forming a radiant display that pulsed across the city and forest. Elias felt the energy flow through him, a tangible connection to the world he had learned to respect and understand. "Let this be a symbol," Zarithia said, her voice carrying across the plaza, "of the alliance between our worlds. Humanity has shown courage, creativity, and empathy. Together we will face the challenges of the universe, not as conquerors, but as allies and friends." Elias looked at Liara, and she smiled, her eyes reflecting the light of the plaza. He felt a sense of purpose, knowing that his actions had helped create a bond that would endure. Humanity's spirit, the courage to face danger, the wisdom to act thoughtfully, and the empathy to honor life, had earned recognition and respect among the stars. As the ceremony concluded, Elias felt the pulse of life around him, the forest, the city, the crystal of Luminara, and the people of Lyra 9. He understood that humanity had a place here, not by force, but by choice, honor, and heart. That night, Elias stood once more on the palace balcony, gazing at the glowing forests below. Lyra joined him silently, and together they watched as Lyra 9 shimmered in celebration. The moons reflected on the streams, and the city's lights danced like stars brought to life. Elias knew that this was only the beginning, but it was a beginning built on courage, understanding, and the undeniable human spirit. He turned to Lyra. "I came here to prove myself," he said softly, "but I have learned so much more. I see now that humanity's strength lies not only in what we can do, but in how we choose to act." Lyra nodded. "And you have shown that strength, Elias. Your journey has just begun, but you have already made a difference, not only for yourself, but for your world and ours." Elias smiled, feeling a sense of peace and purpose. Humanity had survived the test, earned trust, and shown its true spirit. Together with Lyra 9, a new chapter of hope and collaboration was beginning, a chapter where courage, empathy, and honor would guide both worlds forward. And as the twin moons rose high above Lyra 9, Elias knew that humans, when acting with integrity and heart, could truly shine among the stars.